I know that the crypto space is a very special place to work. It pushes boundaries. There's a lot of experimentation and exciting new ideas. At the same time, it can also be quite a rough place to work in, with a lot of volatility and human emotions. So I would be really interested in getting to know, maybe as a first intro round from you, like, what's your superpower? How have you survived until here, maybe with a little bit of your background? And who would like to start?
I guess I was forced to take this mic, so I'll start. First, ciao everyone, I'm Viet. I work at Celestia Labs since 2021, based in Berlin. And my superpower is I am very pain tolerant when it comes to accepting new stuff in our space. I love it, I love experimentation, and that's it.
Hi guys, Tamar from Solana Foundation. Have been with the foundation for a while, through ups and downs, and downs, and downs, and then ups. My superpower, I think in community I'm known as an intergalactic connector. So I think that's what that word immediately reminds me of. Should I pass down then? Okay.
Hello. Honestly, I would have to echo that sentiment. I think that's exactly what you are. I've known you for 24 hours, and I feel like you've introduced me to everybody in this room, so thank you. To everyone, my name is Katya. I work for the Wormhole Foundation. I've been with the foundation only for a few months, actually. I'd been working in the protocol, specifically the crypto lending space, for quite a few years now. I would say my superpower is always asking why. I think sometimes we have our own visions or our own narratives that we want to see executed on, but I always like to take a step back and try to figure out why we're doing things, why things need to be bridged, why do we need another chain. So I think that's kind of kept me going through the space.
Hi, my name is Leia. I'm with Scroll. I'm leading the BD team here, and I think what makes me stick around in this space is maybe more I kind of, probably like many of us, I kind of stumbled into the space by accident a little bit in 2018, and mostly driven by curiosity with the open source spirit, all these decentralization experiments. And then as you are working in this space, it kind of ruins you for other industries. So I think we cannot really go back, so here we are.
Yeah, hey everybody, I'm Altan. I used to be at the NEAR Foundation, but currently a core contributor to NEAR protocol, so it means I contributed to NEAR, but I'm not in the foundation anymore. Superpowers, so I think there's two. I'm Turkish, so I've seen this price volatility before, so I'm very used to that, everything going down. And second, I've also been in a stage where very, very, very downs for a while in the bear market, so just can tolerate a lot of pain as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for that.
We don't want to give it all, just say round robin.
It's
a round robin otherwise.
Very long. So, I would actually like to start off with you guys, and maybe, we probably can all agree that we're already living in kind of like a multi-chain world. And probably we also can agree on that this is not the end game yet. So I would be really interested in your opinion on how does an ideal multi-chain world look like. Maybe you can give some kind of little glimpse into the future from your perspective. Who would like to start?
Seems like I gotta go. So okay. Well, the multi-chain future for us is couple folds, right? So we've been always talking about a user shouldn't know where they interact. So we kind of built this sort of narrative around chain abstraction, how do we abstract chains? That started with our vision of NEAR in 2022, where we started doing a lot of sort of work with Sweatcoin and other ones that mobile apps, and you don't even know that you're using a chain. And now we're starting to be more what should we do to open up really, not only for the NEAR stack, but also for the whole multi-chain world. So our approach to chain abstraction, I know there's people from Wormhole and others, but it's been on the account level as to how do we allow a NEAR account to sign transactions not only on NEAR, on Bitcoin or on on Ethereum or any L2s, and eventually Solana as well. Like, how do we do that experience happen, and how do we make that shorter over time? So we've been working on that as an ecosystem for the last year or so kind of excited how that comes through, and some of the apps are coming. So Sweatcoin now actually will have, not only will be interact with Near, but also they're working with the Binance Smart Chain, so they can sign transactions on Binance Smart Chain using a Near account too. So that'll be the first kind of the product that we'll see, and eventually like other sort of like products like multi-chain dexes and others could be built on top of this sort of primitive that we call chain signatures, allowing sort of a Near account to be sort of like a drive, a Bitcoin account or any account that you like to interact with.
So for us, so Scroll is an L2 to Ethereum, so a ZK rollup, and it's basically a result of the overall Ethereum, or like the Ethereum roadmap of rollup centric future. So, and so that's almost like a subculture of multi-chain within the Ethereum ecosystem, where you have like the optimistic rollup camp and the ZK rollup camp, where I feel like the narrative is a lot about okay, what kind of chain we have for different applications, and I hope that ultimately that won't necessarily matter. That I think we won't have a one-size-fits-all solution. We won't have a chain that will be able to cover everything. So I think we will have a lot more modularization, a lot of optimization and customization. And I mean, very much, I think we're all agreeing here that ultimately, the ultimate goal is like chain abstraction, that we don't necessarily, from a user, but also from a dev, that we don't necessarily have to worry about the infrastructure so much per se, but can just really freely interact across chains within an ecosystem, but also cross, and are not necessarily tied or like restrained to one ecosystem.
Yeah, this is an interesting question. I'll approach it from more of a protocol builder perspective. I think historically, when you think about like a protocol being multi-chain, it's always been from the perspective that a protocol has been live on multiple chains, right? Copy-pasted, deployed onto a handful of networks, and they kind of exist in silos. And so I think in the past year or so, with the rise of app chains, we're starting to see teams starting to think a little bit more critically around how they want to connect their protocols, how they want to see interoperability between these instances of their own tech. And so we're starting to, it's a really interesting dilemma that I think protocol builders are now starting to address. We're starting to see natively multi-chain apps being designed. Synonym is a great example of a natively multi-chain lending market. You can have your collateral on one network, be able to borrow on another, and it facilitates a much simpler user experience, which I know is what everybody is really excited about. But it's a really unique developer experience where you do have to consider different run times. You do have to consider all these different variables when it comes to building on multiple networks. So I would love to see, Wormhole is obviously continuing to deliberate on that, think about the best way to optimize for the developer experience, to continue to ensure that these user-focused apps are being built and being built well and thoughtfully.
My turn, I assume. So in case of Solana, we have chosen a different monolithic design, right? So the conversation has always been for us, what are the use cases that are uniquely Web3 native, and what are the users benefiting out of it? And I think that's why we see a lot of even developers in Solana ecosystem and founders. Pretty much, I think Solana is one of the ecosystems where projects are natively staying on Solana. They are not really multi-chain as of now, but I think the more we grow, and especially with Ethereum having so many L2s and L3s, and I'm sure that there will be some consolidation there as well. And players like Wormhole, I'm sure that will play the key role for unifying liquidity across the chains and making sure that, not only within the one ecosystem, but also cross-chain users don't have to worry about what is actually backing any of those applications. Yeah.
I don't even know what to add, to be honest. They just said everything. It's so unfair.
Next one, you are first.
Yeah, no, I'm just joking. I'm just checking if people are falling asleep or no. So for us, basically, it's mostly 2 words: build whatever and use whatever without even knowing what you're doing. So I fully agree on chain abstraction, intense, declarative style, how you want to achieve a goal. You should never be bothered about 1 million wallets and different type of apps that just looks the same. It will drive people to insanity and we will never get to mass adoption. So yeah, for us, this is where short and yeah, simple. Yes.
Thank you, Viet. I think what you guys already mentioned a bit is like maybe we can look at the developer perspective, because I think we all agree that removing silos and fragmentation in like users, what you've also just mentioned, applications and liquidity, is quite beneficial for everyone. So I guess maybe we can start first of all. If you can remove one roadblock on the way to this world that you've just described, what would it be?
I would say user experience, in the sense that now launching a website using Vercel is just too easy. Everyone can be a front-end developer in 5 minutes. We need the same for blockchains. I'm sorry, we haven't reached that level, and we need that. Easy as that.
Good point. I think for me, I work with a lot of new founders and developers, and I think just sometimes it's very confusing for a newcomer to understand where to go, where to build. So maybe in our case, we're really trying to double down on the education side and like the documentation as well and onboarding, and just that's something that is very different for each ecosystem. So if that would be somehow resolved. And developers entering in the ecosystems would find their home faster. That would be pretty cool to see. Would accelerate the growth.
Okay, we're mixing up the order here.
Yes, please.
I think so. Obviously, we're all here agreeing. So maybe also you have to spice it up then later, Katja. I think one thing that always is tricky, especially when it requires a lot of social coordination. I obviously seen it from the Ethereum ecosystem, but then also expanding that across different ecosystems will be hard. Just defining standards, how assets should move across different chains. How do we define what a canonical asset is, and rallying around a standard and coordinating there, I think that will be tricky and that will be hard, and hopefully we'll manage. But honestly, that would also be an interesting question. I'd like to hear from the Wormhole team. How are you gonna work on that?
I've got it. Actually, just on brand for tonight, tribalism. I think there are a lot of teams. I think we have a really good diversity of teams up here with us tonight who are working on cutting edge research. Everybody has their own defined version or vision rather for how they see this space evolving. What I would love to see more of is just continued collaboration, continued spaces where we can have honest conversations about the challenges that we're seeing, and having candid conversations about when things aren't working, and seeing if anybody else within the ecosystem is willing to help out. I know you think that Solana is a little bit siloed, but I would argue that there's a lot of really great research, a really great ecosystem of problem solvers that I think would benefit, that any of these other chains that are spinning up that would really benefit from those insights. So I think we just gotta hang more, maybe get more beers in Berlin.
On the point of tribalism, I think we've improved a lot. When I've joined the space, it was way more, because we have this, everybody going monolithic L1, and had clash between communities. I've seen that. We still see it on Twitter, but I think it's got less over time because the space got bigger. It used to be if you look at the market cap, I think it's still not there as a 2021, but we're getting better there. And just the thing on the what I would love to solve is, you all these have these blockchains, and we're spinning up more blockchains now. I'm just scared of this fragmentation problem as to how do you connect these blockchains in between. And if you've done something on blockchain A, and if you know, in multi-chain apps, for example, something happens on blockchain A when you do something on blockchain B, how do we solve those problems, right? I think that's like you can get rugged easily in that world. So that I'd love to solve with myself personally.
Yeah, thank you so much. Maybe also stay with the developer. Maybe we'll stay a second with the developer perspective. I think another thing that we probably can agree on, that the user experience should be seamless. No one wants to be like bridge 5 times, sign various transactions, and have this kind of rough experience that we see right now. So from your different perspective, what do developers need to build this seamless experience, and maybe also what are the advantages of your respective ecosystems for the developers?
Yeah, let me.
He has the microphone. I'm sorry, Altan. You can always pass it on if you don't.
So I think like developer experience side. My background is I used to be an engineer at the foundation. So when I joined a space, I came from AI and then joined like in 2022. The problem I saw in the space was like, okay, so I wrote a Solana program, that's Rust. Came to Near, that's Rust, and then and then you go to EVM. Everybody, obviously, EVM is like standardized in a way. If you're not going to some of the ZK EVMs that are quite different. So that problem is like, I think solving that problem is just maybe going back to even like something monolithic that you can deploy, and then which takes care of all that logic, right? Like I want to deploy to Near, and here are the programs that I want to write. Let's just figure that for me. So maybe that's the solution to that is AI at some point, where you just want to say, hey, I want to write a Solana program, and it just figures that for you and just give the specifications for that. We're not there yet, obviously, because like models are probabilistic, and you don't know what they're going to spit out, and they could be problematic in terms of DeFi. But that's kind of like how I would want to see the space evolve into coming to just one interface to deploy a smart contract like JavaScript that you just write programs and then you can figure out later. So love to see that at some point, but it probably takes some time.
I can also take over here. Two types of things, right? With Solana specifically as well. Two things impact developers, especially newcomers. I think general market cycle, and also just the specific ecosystem maturity. So for both of them, it doesn't matter what market cycle it is, you do need documentation. We have been as an ecosystem, we have been doubling down on making sure that it's as smooth onboarding experience as possible for developers. But Rust is a hard language, so it is not that easy. It takes longer for you to get comfortable with the language. That's why we had to come up with a framework, which is Anchor, which is deployed on top of it. So it kind of makes sure that developers from day one at least can interact without not knowing Rust with the blockchain. Second thing is, I think just with Solana, we've been through a lot, I think, as a community. So I think for developers, what changed the game for us was community support and almost like mentorship. I think Superteams and Superteam Germany is a very good example of how community of founders handhold each other and get through tough times together, because being a developer is not an easy it's not an easy lifestyle in Web3, I would assume. I think also in Solana it's much faster to from the idea versus deployment and getting users. It's a very short time, I feel. So you can easily get the feedback from the users very fast. So I think our developers are pretty much product-oriented devs, if you ask me. So those are all the things that we are thinking about, and trying to make sure that community and the documentation, those two come together, and at least that top of the funnel is as smooth as possible.
I'll chime in quickly. I think what's fun about working at Wormhole is building multi-chain is hard. If you're building a natively multi-chain application, let us help you, because we're going through it ourselves right now. We have the privilege, an example would be we have the privilege of working with Scopelift and Tally right now on a product called Multigov. we're trying to solve the problem of cross-chain governance. Our objective is to facilitate, people being able to vote on different chains and have those proposals be executed across multiple networks, which seems very simple, right? In practice, it's, you have your token on one chain, why shouldn't I be able to vote with it if I'm on Base, but, the governors on Ethereum, it's deceivingly hard. There's different run times, there's different requirements for each chain. Solana, you have to lock to vote, to delegate. There's so many nuances with these different networks, and we're in it with these teams, helping them figure it out. We're involved in solving a lot of these problems in collaboration with them, and that better helps inform our own developer documentation. It helps inform how we speak to developers, what types of products we think would be viable in the ecosystem. So I think that's something that we, uniquely do that helps us unblock a lot of developer experiences.
Yeah, so for developers today, is it correct? The question
Yes.
in the gist? So what I noticed is, folks, if any of you have ever tried to run a node or a validator, I send my condolences. It's chewing glass. And now imagine you learned the whole year, the whole career to code, and someone just tells you hey, go to Web3 and try to run a node and code. You'll just do a 180 and go back. So, and we noticed that a lot of devs who are trying to, go to this multi-chain, when they first see the amount of chewing glass, we call this internally chewing bulletproof glass, thanks to Solana, because you both run, you need to understand, you need to run the node, you need to run the bridge, you need to run an oracle, you need to run the block explorer, a faucet. It's hilariously bad. And first thing to solve is, of course, abstracting infrastructure. That's definitely what everyone is trying to do right now in the multi-chain. This is why bridging makes sense, interop makes sense. You want just the developer to touch the ecosystem and they're already plugged in because all the dirty work is done for them in the background. And the second stuff is, of course, very important, is how you get there, basically the Peter Thiel theory of 0 to 1. A year ago, you can check Bogota, Optimism was pitching how to launch a rollup in 30 minutes and everyone was just clapping their hands. Today, it's 5. So launching an OP stack chain is 5 minutes. And people are still angry because it's not there. When it comes to hey, I want to bridge between 2 OP stack rollups. Sorry. So yeah, you see, removing the barriers for developers, so we can scale the amount of devs who are putting their time to build permissionless technology is paramount. Because as of Electric Capital, we only have 7,000 developers in previous year full time, and in general in the world there are 29 million, and they are growing by 2% each year, and we have a down 20% since 2021, guys. So we need to move really fast together. And they all need this freedom so they can code faster, ship faster, and we all enjoy and be awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know if there are any validators here in the audience. Any resonance? I would love to get also, feedback, comments. Is there anyone who would like to comment or feedback?
What's your
on
pain?
That? What's your pain? Yeah.
There's so much pain.
You see?
Can you elaborate on that?
It's like in Multichain environment.
Should it...
Yeah, I'll give you the mic. Hold on.
That's exactly what it
I mean, in
is.
the past you had a few different networks and everything was functioning the same, or same-ish, and then it went in so many different directions, and now if you're a validator, you're responsible for everything and anything, and it's so much differences in the space, and everything is different and harder than the other thing, and you need to adapt every day. You can't not just learn it and do it. You need to learn every day. You need to face new challenges and overcome new obstacles every day. I guess that's about it. You need to keep moving.
Yeah. Yes!
Thank you so much. Any reaction? reflection here from you guys? Can you ease any pain here?
I think we were all just saying up here that this feels like a therapy session together. We're trauma bonded, guys. Way to go! Really breaking down boundaries.
That's what we're here for. Thank you so much. Yeah, maybe we can. I don't know. Is there any other comment to that?
Keep up great work.
Yes. Yeah, maybe we can have a look more on the application layer, and I would be really interested in your view, like, what do you think are like major adoption drivers for the next phase in that whole multi-chain interoperability game?
First to you.
I'll take that one. I think it's interesting to take a look at like how the wallet landscape actually evolved. I feel like they're now more or less like serving as like dApp store hubs, or like I think you experience, or like your entry to new ecosystems is a lot via wallets, and I think that's really cool to see. I think it's really interesting. Also love like all the effort that Safe does on like making sure that we build all of that in a way where you can keep your self-custody. I think that's really interesting. Obviously, there's also a ton going on in the stable coin world. Obviously, like interoperability layers like Wormhole are major drivers. I think what's interesting to take a look at here as well, from maybe if you're a dev, or if you're building a dApp, there's so many decisions that you have to make on like architecture-wise, but also like infra side. Like, what are all the choices that there's actually like a ton of lists of choices that you have to go through, and I think those teams that are building without vendor lock-in, I think will be really interesting for dApps, because I think like we're all taking bets. There will be service providers, there will be chains that maybe won't be around like in 2 years from now, but we still have learned something, and I think that's still valuable. So I think we should also continue doing that, but maybe also keep in mind that we avoid vendor lock-in, and like just like make sure that we can move assets and users across all the different layers and ecosystems.
Yeah, I'll probably state a problem that I've been seeing. So in 2021, when I joined or whatever, people were talking about, when are we going to have the apps, right? And then we had some apps at that time, like Sorare was a thing, and like, all that stuff. But then every cycle, people come back and say, where are the apps, right? So, but the thing is, like, when we're valuing these things, like, an infrastructure company can come in and easily value themselves at like 200 million out of the bat, versus like, I have a friend who's building sort of like, how do you do long and shorts for NFTs on Blast, and his valuation goes like way below what the infrastructure providers do, but even though he has way more users and way more TVL than the other ones do, right? So there's this like cycle of like not being able to value applications high, which doesn't allow people to, which basically pushes old entrepreneurs to build infrastructure, which ends up like building a bunch of chains, L2s that you don't even need, right? So that's kind of one problem I've been seeing. What I'm excited about now is like, this Farcaster who's been, again, it's a protocol. I mean, we call it as app, but it's a protocol, right? Even how they sort of brand themselves. So this Lance of Farcaster are able to kind of provide these primitives for us to build interesting applications. I think Fantasy was the other one, the Twitter one. Fantasy, yeah. Fantasy is a cool example of like how we can, why we're here. Basically, a lot of people are still like to gamble, and they will gamble on everything. So excited for like, I guess probably all of us are gamblers too. Excited to build all those like prediction markets or whatever to kind of come true. But anyway, if we can find another application of crypto, that would be great. But that's my view on things.
Sure, I'll jump in. I don't know if I would say I'm a gambler. I would just say I have a very high risk tolerance. I think that's my... That's what gamblers say. Yeah, no, I don't have a problem. Definitely didn't claim an airdrop now that I'm in Germany. NFA. Jokes aside. But I think it's actually really exciting. I know we've been talking about this for years. Payments. I was waiting for somebody to go, ugh, in the background, but I'm glad I didn't hear it. We're starting to see some real adoption happening. And I just had a meeting this morning with a team in Latin America. They're working on payments, obviously with volatile currencies. Sometimes by the time you get paid and by the time you...
People make a lot of money too.
Yeah.
Like USD, let's say, stablecoin for Turkish.
Okay, maybe.
Yeah.
Stablecoin for Turkish lira has a lot of...
You have to say that again for everyone.
Yeah, stablecoin on Turkish lira has a lot of spread, so people make a ton of money. So they print like, yeah, but lira makes a ton of money, like because the spread is too high, and they always make money on the volatility. So that's kind of one thing.
Make money on the volatility, but if you're an average person getting paid your wage, by the time you make it to the bank to cash out, all of a sudden you've lost 50% of your wealth. Brutal. And so what I'm excited to see is we're seeing a lot of institutional adoption. We're starting to see Visa and MasterCard take crypto payments seriously. We're starting to see, stronger regulation coming out over the past few years, and hopefully we'll continue to see stronger guidance in the near future, because I do think that payments, that original objective of Bitcoin, can be accomplished, and it finally feels like we're starting to get some ground on that front.
So actually for me, it's also payments. We even have internal term PayFi. So yeah, I think stable coins especially, we've seen incredible growth in volumes in our ecosystem. I think maybe you were talking with Etherfuse? No? Oh, okay, good. Yeah, but we have in LATAM one of the teams as well who is, I think it's a clear use case, right? So yeah, definitely want to see more of that. I think also in general, Telegram and how that as a distribution platform can be used as a front end for Web3 applications, and back end can be multiple different chains. Probably they prefer one out of them, but we all can. It could be very interesting play to see, especially in terms of onboarding new users. So that's I'm curious how it will play out. We have this project called Bonkbot, which is here
What
we
is it
go.
called?
Here we go.
What is it called?
Bonkbot.
Bonkbot.
Yeah, and they are a Telegram bot. I have not said that. It's you who are saying. So yeah, I think I'm a user. I'm very excited to see how distribution channels will be incorporating. Actually, we will be incorporating different channels in our products. So yeah, that's very exciting for me.
Yeah, so for us, we just understood that with a lot of block space, finally use cases that were not possible before, they became possible. And one of this is gaming, of course, where people who are building rollups for gaming chains, like Orderly, for example, they're just paying right now nothing. And they have their own chain, they're super happy, their customers are seeing this amazing MetaMask, oh, you made a move, pay a transaction. You're like, why? So yeah, now they're subsidizing the cost and they're focusing heavily on customer retention and acquisition, which is amazing to see. Same basically go with Argus, they kind of build this semi-protocol / abstraction for gamers to build mechanics on chain. We see this as a fantastic move. And last but not least is people who in Berlin here will understand that techno is actually an art. And just for you to understand, techno became art and adopted heavily in Berlin because there was abundant space in East part that people were just squatting, bringing this, and just experimenting with high BPM music that they heard somewhere from Detroit. And this is how it was born, and I truly believe that we're seeing the new rays of NFT artists coming to the modular space. They coined this term called art chains, where an artist is trying to express their art through every block. Not just an NFT that you just plug in as a picture and then you're trying to reason that, but when it becomes the part of the story, why this art makes sense. And one of the projects is Forma, they're onboarding new artists, and what feedback we heard from that ecosystem team is artists love this idea. They came up with this, so they love this. I mean, it's obvious. And of course, they want abstraction as we come again on infrastructure. When they understand how important for them to express what they feel is, what they feel is art and be creative, we just understood what to do. And yeah, for us to go multi-chain and to see adoption for developers is to start with gaming and art, something that people can relate to.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to check on with you guys here in the audience, if you have any questions or comments regarding application, that would be really interesting. Just raise your hands, just so we should still see you here. Yeah, I think as you already described, I think there are areas that have a lot of potential, and I always love to hear the stories where you can really concretely imagine, what kind of specific use cases we can see. So I would like to hear from you guys. Do you have any more stories and exciting projects from your ecosystem where you see, like examples where you see potential in the next few years to have major developments? Yeah, you're nodding.
Thank you. So I think personally, I'm very excited about DPIN as a different types of projects that just evolved pretty much organically, natively on Solana. And I think one of them is HiveMapper. How many of you guys have heard about HiveMapper? Okay, not too bad. So they are almost like a Google Maps replacement. It's dash cams. You can attach them to your vehicle and pretty much map the environment around you. And I think they already mapped through their community 3% of the world without any external funding or anything, right? So I think those kind of applications are very cool and interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of them.
Any other?
I'll wait for you.
Okay. So we're playing hot potato up here. I actually really love the NFT comment. I think if anybody creates music, anybody, even for fun, even if you're not trying to make money off of it, if you're publishing any of your music on Spotify, on SoundCloud, it's really damn near impossible to monetize. So actually, I have a friend, a team that I've been working with for quite some time now called Garden X. They spun out of Lens. They're really focused on ownership and distribution via blockchain, but without having artists go through the pains and the throes of setting up wallets and wondering which chains they need to be building on. They're really trying to simplify the process the best they can, and they're starting to work with organic grassroots communities in LA and New York. Maybe we should bring them out to Berlin and get them connected to the techno scene.
When?
I'll book them flights tonight. Well, just in time for the weekend.
Too late.
Next week, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
But I think it's really exciting to see the power being brought back. Anybody have any thoughts on privacy apps? Privacy apps on Scroll?
Privacy apps on Scroll, would love to see more of them. I think for the Scroll ecosystem, there is obviously financial applications are a major driver right now. Obviously with CK there's not only scalability, but obviously what people first and foremost have in their mind is privacy, and that's definitely use cases that we want to have more of, and that's also Scroll is one of the ZK rollups where that's currently possible. We'd love to see more Tornado Cash type of applications, the censorship resistant in a way, that would be great. I think, for us, we're also working with a bunch of teams so Scroll is a super distributed team. We are across 26 countries. We also have a big presence in Turkey, in LATAM as well, and there's teams that tackle, as you mentioned, the payment sector to hedge volatility of local currency. There's a team that we've been working with. It's called Wi-Fi. So there's tons of interesting teams that are building in on that front. I think one that's maybe not as concrete, but I think it's interesting to just like keep an eye on is that. So I've been talking with one community member, and he has been kind of saying it's okay that crypto UX is so bad because maybe it was never meant to be that humans are interacting with the chain. He's saying there will be like a completely like agentic layer, especially in DeFi, where just like AI bots or AI agents will interact with each other. Bit scary because it feels black boxy, but also really interesting to just like see what's gonna accelerate on that end. So overall excited to see what the future will hold. Maybe we'll be surprised again.
I have a very spontaneous question, so that just checking in with the audience, like who has already fully understood what Scroll does? Is that clear to everyone here? Okay, only one person understands Scroll. Okay. Because actually, and to be honest, I was asking before the panel, well, what is Scroll exactly? And actually, I didn't find people who could actually explain it to me. And there are some OGs, so maybe you could just jump in for just a few sentences on what exactly is like the background of Scroll.
Obviously, okay, yeah, sure. So Scroll is a roll-up, and so it's an L2 that's built on Ethereum. And the way it basically works is that you offload some of their computation onto like an L2, but then you settle on Ethereum. So there's like different ways to do that. I've mentioned earlier that there's like the optimistic rollups. That's like one way to do it, where there's game theory involved to finalize a transaction. And the cool thing with CK is that it's all purely based on math. So whenever a transaction happens on Scroll, it's then like this mathematic proof is anchored on Ethereum, and you're good to go. And that enables us to just like transact on Ethereum faster, cheaper, and like without having to compromise security. And I think that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Does that make more sense?
And you just kind of onboarded, right? Just recently on Wormhole to kind of
exactly.
offer that to the whole multi-chain
Exactly.
Okay, cool. Great. Thank you so much.
Do I have to answer what NEAR is now? That's just
Sorry?
Do I have to answer what NEAR is now?
Well,
okay,
I guess
NEAR does
it's a
everything
bit
anyway.
more
That's what we're known for. But going back, so on bots, actually we're interacting with bots when we do transact on blockchains. There's always a mad bot that sits somewhere that is probably trying to sandwich you for everything that you do. But there's two things I'm excited about. Obviously, so the reason why I'm not on NEAR Foundation anymore is that I'm spinning off something to do separate entity for some of the things that we've been working on. I'm excited about that, so that will drop probably in June as a public announcement. And then second one I'm excited about is like the announcement we made yesterday about Ilya going back to the AI roots. So Alex Skidano, who's one of the founders of NEAR, joined back at the NEAR Foundation with a AI research hub. So what we'll probably focus on is to build exactly what I said is like how do we build a Web3 AI developer that can build applications. So we start to have this like ideathon where everybody just writes up whatever they want to build, and then there's a model that was fine-tuned to put specifications like a program manager, and then those will be run from an LLM to produce code. It eventually developers sitting and saying, hey, this code is bogus or this code works, and eventually collecting that data to build this like Web3 AI developer. So that's what we're working in the foundation level with Ilya. So yeah, excited about those developments from our end.
Did you want to add anything?
I think it's fine.
Yeah, okay, great. So looking in the audience, I have one more question I would like to ask, but maybe then I would like to look around for your comments and questions in the audience. So one like other aspect of the whole interoperability setup is like, I think there's always this looming topic of security, and I guess it's quite battle tested already. Still, it's always a topic in discussion. So what's your evaluation of the current situation, and what needs to be improved in the next phase? I don't know who wants to take that.
I rested the most, so I can.
Yes.
So yeah, we basically see two landscapes happening right now. One is get to bridging faster using committees. Basically, committees is a good idea to have a majority assumption, so you can get the job done. Basically, lock and mint idea. It helps a lot when you need to bridge assets across L1s or L2s that have no idea about how to read each other's states. So kudos to your openers. And we see with the modular stack, we can have a better design called trust minimized bridging, where committees are not the essential part anymore, but you have a minority assumption scenario. However, it is very hard to build. And this is where it gets worse, in the sense that the chewing is not stopping. Like it's getting worse and worse, because in order to get to this ideal point where you don't need to trust the majority anymore, because imagine we are parking the whole economy of the world to a set of, let's say, 50 not that trustworthy people, well, yeah, so, like, I mean, and you cannot verify what they're doing, then yeah, of course it's very bad. And the more we see this, let's say, confederation of ecosystems, where they want inside to be super trust minimized, but outside, let's say they partner with someone or other ecosystem, basically the neighbor, then they just say, hey, we cannot talk the same language, we don't understand how to even read your state, so we'll just accept the committee. And then, governance came in, blah, blah, you try to band-aid the solution so you can move on. And yeah, I think we call this notion intra and interclusters. It will stay with us.
I'll chime in next. Actually, I think Ozzy, for those of you who were here with us earlier this morning, we had a presentation. Woo! Shout out Ozzy. He kind of gave a brief overview over our ZK roadmap. So currently the Wormhole protocol is secured by the Guardian set. What we're excited about and what we've started development on with the collaboration of many ZK teams, Lurk, Spoken, I'm sure Ozzy could name like 10 more off the
Yeah,
back
I
of
was
his
just
head.
asking, maybe we can ask him on stage for a
Yeah,
second.
actually,
Ozzy, would you be
please.
willing to just
ZK.
elaborate on that for a minute? Thank you. Sorry to throw you under the bus here.
No worries. Love it. Love being under the bus. No. Yeah, we're working with Lurk, Spoken, Supranational, Succinct, some of the best teams actually, I would say, some of the best teams in the space. So yeah, we're rolling through, setting up some provers at the moment for Aptos, Near as well. At the moment, EVM, yeah, we're still sitting on Plonky 2, the whole industry is sitting there, but Plonky 3 is getting more stable, so we'll make a shift there, reducing proving times, reducing latency. I think this will help a lot. There's also a lot of, our big shout out to like Lagrange as well, a lot of great work being done with like state committees and things over there, even Hyperbridge, these guys, so there's a lot of exciting work being done in this space, this intercommunication. We'll have a Babel fish, I think, for blockchains reasonably soon, give it some years. But yeah.
Yeah, we're super excited about it, and it wouldn't be possible without all of the researchers who are like pulling their hair out, trying to work on the CK tech. So we're very excited about it. Keep an eye out for it. It's something that's been in development for years, and we're starting to see ZK-powered messaging routes starting to go live relatively soon. Depends on what your meaning of relative is there, but.
Is there any addition to the security? Yeah. Hold on.
Yeah, I want to question, if we talk about Multichain, obviously, I always wonder, the more chains we add, it obviously also adds complexity on, I think, many different levels. So, from your perspective, do you think there's a limitation to multi in a way? And if so, who is in charge? Because I know from our perspective as a validator, the more we add, the more we have complexity and also interoperability. It adds more risk in many terms. So do you think there is some sort of limitation? And if so, what are the factors that actually limit multi-chain anyway?
That is such a good question. And I appreciate your patience in working with us and helping add new chains to our network. It's definitely a challenge right now. I think something that we've been saying internally is that Wormhole was built, I think, 4 years ago now. It's in its toddler stage. It was built to add one chain at a time, right? It was a linear progression. We could add chains one at a time. Every Guardian needs to run a full node on every single chain that we support. It's scalable to an extent. As we start to increase, or looking back at the app chain ecosystem right now, before it was one, it was Optimism and Arbitrum, and then maybe Base was going to be a chain, and now it's 1 million chains launching every day. 5 minutes to launch your own. Actually, after this, I'm going to launch Katya chain. Yeah, we'll get Wormhole messaging set up with it. But we're seeing an exponential increase in the number of chains that are going live, and it's something that we've been starting to seriously consider, what the V2 of Wormhole will look like to be able to continue to support the increase of networks. Continuing to place that burden on the Guardians is honestly not the most sustainable path forward, and so we want to be very thoughtful. And the way that the ecosystem has told us they want to grow. And we'll continue to grow and evolve to support them however we can. Anyone else have thoughts on it?
I think it goes in a similar direction. So I mean, overall, the beauty of Web3 or the beauty of the crypto space that there is nobody that will dictate, okay, this is enough chains. I think it's very much also supply and demand. We have a lot of supply on the infra side right now. But we're also seeing that there is more to it. There's more to launching a chain than just the tech side. I think it's great that it's getting easier. It shouldn't be so hard. And right now, as you also mentioned it earlier, right now it's just very incentivized on the economic side to just launch another chain. But then, yeah, if you're failing to build an ecosystem, if you're bottlenecked by infra providers, which is real, which is, which I guess every chain experiences that want to build for the long term, for some basic needed infrastructure, the waiting time sometimes is half a year. So I think ultimately there will be a limitation by that, and then we're also already seeing it. So I think for example, the DGNL3 built on Base had an outage for 48 hours, for around two days, which on it's an early chain, so overall it's still in its infancies, but time-wise, not volume-wise, but I think this is where we're seeing, okay, yeah, there's more to it than just spinning up the tech, and yeah, I think we'll see more of that, and I think all of us, as I've mentioned it, there will be chains spinning up that might be popular for some time now, that won't be around later, and maybe that's okay, but there will be also a lot of shitty projects probably out there too, so it is again do your own research, but hopefully we'll manage to do that in a way to not overwhelm users too much. Feels like you wanted to say something to it.
The same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Pass it over to you guys.
I'll just take it. Thank you.
You got it.
I would answer your question very easily. If we imagine that succinct SP1 or RIS0 is live, then bridges are not real, and it's all just proof aggregation at the end of the day. So going ZK on Wormhole is definitely a great idea. Same as Polygon was trying to say how they are aggregated, and Vitalik's talk about how ZK snarks will save the world of this whole mess we created for ourselves. I truly agree. There is no way you can say that ZK is not real. the different problem with your question will be, okay, what is the weakest link of the security system that we built? And if we say that, let's say the adoption market says 70% is SP1 and you have 100 provers in the network, well, regardless how many you have, ZK L2s, L3s, L1s, whatever, you're still at mercy of this prover market. Like, you can have as many multi-chain subtractions as you have, but if those provers collude, then it's over. And this is where we need to go from first principles, like, okay, multi-chain for whom? Multi-chain for what? And why, let's say, a specific set of actors that decided to abstract themselves and not with other else. Like, it should be use case based, not just for the sake of abstracting everything. Because if you abstract everything, maybe no one will use it and need it.
Thank you. Yeah, so I know the time. So are there any more questions or something on your mind that you would like to share? You can have one or two final questions. Otherwise, I would like to ask you guys here, hopefully this Berlin Blockchain Week and the whole flourishing German ecosystem will even flourish more over the next year. So imagine we will sit here in 1 year and you're super happy and content looking back at the year. What will you tell me? Maybe have like a quick final round. What would you like to tell me next year?
I would just love to tell you that we have 69,420 chains. Let's say 1,000 bridges and 1 million wallets. And yeah, there is, I would say, too many people and they are in pain.
That's the most important metric. That's the most important metric. 1 billion users.
Yeah.
It's always about the billion users.
Oh. For us, I think it would be FireDancer being launched, our TPS going 10x.
And Tiny Dancer, let's go.
And some of the killer apps that will be, again, onboarding next billion users to our ecosystem. I think also developers, right? If we can really attract as an ecosystem, as our friend here mentioned, we just have 7,000 developers. So I hope that we can accelerate that growth rate for us as an ecosystem. Yeah.
Maybe I'll continue. So like everything, all the pain points that we talk about are resolved. I mean, like for Scroll, obviously it's a lot about like cost reductions, faster, cheaper, all of that. And yeah, I think that's, maybe we can stop saying we're early. I feel like sometimes it's like a grow-up for us to like excuse bad guys. And I think I would love to see like a shift in overall in the ecosystem, that there is like more and more incentives to actually truly build applications, and that we're not like copy-pasting all the different instances to just like another chain. And what I like what you were saying earlier, that you're working with a lot of teams that have sort of like the cross-chain aspect like built into the product. I think I would love to see more of that, and there's like amazing teams, like we talked about Catalyst earlier, that are doing amazing work, and I would love to see more of them.
Yeah, from our side, just a couple of things I'd love to see. So, for the near side, I hope we can get something that works on the AI developer side. That would be great to see. From personal side of the project, we'll obviously go live with an announcement, go live on mainnet, because we have it. One of the things that we're working on is an ABS built on Ioner that does like fast finality for rollups, essentially finalizing state within 4 seconds. It's terrible design because it uses full nodes, as we talked about. Full nodes are terrible. Love to have more like light client nodes actually doing most of the state attestations for that, and love to get more usage on that as like building personal applications. Yeah, I mean, happy to come back to this weather again. This London was terrible for the whole winter, and come back and don't live the winter side, but the
We'll do our best. Thanks, Altan. Yeah, so I really love the vibe, the spirit of you guys, and I think what really stands out is that there was no discussion around tribalism or anything like that. You're super focused on building, and that really makes me quite optimistic to see that you're all here to solve the interoperability problems. There's so many cool projects in the pipelines in each of your ecosystem, and I just like really the spirit that we're all in it here together, and really looking forward to dive deeper next year about all the applications being built by them. Thank you so much.
Thank you.